RJ Barrett does it again. Julius Randle for three. Puts it in. Knicks by one with 8.2 remaining.
Welcome to Fireside Knicks. My name is Alex, and today I want to talk about the Knicks potentially going out before the trade deadline, which is about 23 days away, and going out and getting a point guard. Of course, the Knicks did acquire Cam Reddish from the Atlanta Hawks, sending over a first-round pick via the Charlotte Hornets protected, and Kevin Knox. They got Solomon Hill and a second-round pick in 2025 via Brooklyn back in return, in accordance to Reddish as well. So when we're thinking about the Knicks and the moves they've already made, they've acquired a small forward, and as you know, small forwards are more versatile, flexible in the way that they can play, and essentially the Knicks don't really use small forwards in their repertoire of player combinations and lineups. So, when Evan Fournier is capable of playing the small, but, they don't really feature as many of those type of players. They really tend to go with the more power forwards, physical presences inside, and shooters. But Cam Reddish, I think, can provide a little bit more of a 3-and-D style of play that they're looking for. Reggie Bullock last year, more of a shooting guard. He could play the small forward position as well. But Cam Reddish, he's already elevated his shooting percentage from 26% from three-point range to 38% this year, which is a ridiculously, awesome increase in efficiency. It's an 12% increase, which is something to note when you're thinking about Cam Reddish and what he can provide down the line. Now, we know that he has an ankle injury. He won't be back for a couple days. But the thing about the Knicks is that they really are missing a point guard. Without Derrick Rose, they seriously lack facilitation. Someone to kind of manage the floor, and the floor general term is kind of thrown around with Derrick Rose. Kemba Walker isn't really a floor general. He's more of an elite scorer who doesn't offer any defense. Sometimes he doesn't really offer much in facilitation either. He's really just a purebred scorer when he's on. He has a game where he'll have 2 points, and he'll have a game where he has 40 points. So that's kind of the Evan Fournier model as well. So the Knicks needed a bit more consistency from him. He showed that after returning from exile. But over the last couple of games, where the Knicks have been kind of relying on the Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quickley, Miles McBride rotation. A lot of their assists are coming from Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. Barrett's been playing out of his mind lately, and super, super big props to him, who came back from the new year. He's shooting over 45% from three-point range. He's double-digit points for 10 consecutive games. I think it's 3 30-point games in the month of January, which is only like 7 or 8 games to begin with. So, when you're looking at him already, he's been a stud. And the thing is, the Knicks are just lacking that point guard presence. And Mark Berman of the New York Post reported that the Knicks were actually really, really interested in acquiring the Dallas Mavericks point guard, Jalen Brunson. Now, Jalen Brunson is a really intriguing player, right? He's 25 years old, coming off his rookie deal. He's looking for a big-time extension. Now, this could work. Jalen Brunson's a player who actually has had some success. His birthday is actually 10 days after mine. August 31st, 1996, born in New Jersey, right? So he's a New Jersey guy. His dad, Rick Brunson, played for the Knicks, and he was an assistant coach under Tom Thibodeau with the Bulls and, I think another team as well. So when you're talking about Jalen Brunson, clear and obvious connections to the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau, which gives him a little bit more of an advantage in terms of maybe coming here and getting a deal. But apparently, according to Bleacher Report, Jalen Brunson is looking for a 4-year, $80 million deal. So we're talking $20 million per season. That's a pretty pricey acquisition. Now, the Knicks would have to trade away players just to get, or trade away capital just to be able to get Jalen Brunson for the remainder of this season. And then you have to offer him a mammoth deal. Now, let's take a look at his statistics and actually see if he's worth that much. So year over year, he's pretty much kind of experienced an increase in efficiency. The former Villanova star is averaging 16 points per game this year, 5.7 assists, and he's shooting 33% from deep and 50% from the field, and has a free throw percentage of about 79%, which is not bad, not terrible, not great, kind of average. But the one thing that I do want to point out is his assist numbers have increased by 2.2 compared to last year, and he's averaging 31 minutes, right? So a little bit more playing time, 6 minutes extra per game this year compared to last. He's averaging 2.2 additional assists, which is really, really great. So clearly he's seeing the court better. He's doing a lot of things in terms of facilitation to get the ball to his teammates and create opportunities for others. But the point production is something that I do really, really like from Jalen Brunson. I do think that when you're talking about him, he's not kind of the star that you would expect the Knicks to be kind of looking for at this point in time. The Knicks need a Damian Lillard. They need a star point guard, a Chris Paul. They should have tried to go after a little bit more aggressively last offseason to pair with Julius Randle. Randle has proven he cannot handle the New York media market and really the team alone. He needs another star. RJ Barrett's been that guy. The Knicks have won, 3 of the last 5 games. They've been doing pretty well lately. They're at 500. But ultimately, they need another star. Jalen Brunson, he's not a star, but he could be, given the proper development, given the proper scheme and system. When you're looking at his advanced statistics, he hosts a 107 defensive rating this year. He's a decent defender. His assist to turnover ratio of 3.54, the best of his career, so he's doing well there. His assist ratio is 26.8%. So, and then a 13.2 PI, which essentially is the player impact estimate. Pretty good player. This season. He's doing pretty well. So I think that if you're going to acquire a guy like Jalen Brunson, you're also getting a playmaker in him. 69.6% of his field goals made are unassisted. So he's not just a spot-up shooter. He's a legitimate point guard who can drive to the basket. He's a really, really good mid-range game. Almost 20% of his points are coming from the mid-range this season. A really big increase from 12%. So his mid-range shot, pull-ups from the elbow, really looking good. I like that about Jalen Brunson. However, when you're looking at his 3-point percentage dipping to 33% from about 40% last year, that's a little bit of an interesting number. Similar attempts, so he has taken a step back in that regard, but the Knicks have done a good job creating better 3-point shooters when it comes to Immanuel Quickley. Obi Toppin's still trying to get there. RJ Barrett had a 40% shooting season last year, and he's doing well to start off the new year. So Jalen Brunson, he's young. I don't know if trading for him, unless it's going to be a really cheap deal or they're going to take somebody off our hands that we don't need, maybe like a Nerlens Noel. But if Dallas doesn't want to pay him, I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to kind of take what they can get when it comes to Brunson, because 4 years, $80 million is a pretty hefty contract. Would I go for it? I think depending on the deal that Dallas wants, depending on what they're demanding, I would consider it. I like Brunson. I think he's a good player. I think the Knicks severely lack a true and tried point guard to lead this system. Honestly, if Kemba Walker was to ride the bench the rest of the year and Jalen Brunson took over his minutes, I'd be totally fine with that. He is a pretty healthy, bill of health, so I would trust him to be active. He's only started 25 games, about half the games this year. So Dallas has used him in kind of an interesting way. They've used him a lot in conjunction with Luka Doncic on the court at the same time. And apparently they've actually been really, really great together. So maybe if the Knicks acquired Brunson and used him in conjunction with Immanuel Quickley, or used him in conjunction with Alec Burks or even Derrick Rose, you might get some positivity there. You might get some good play. So something to consider, guys. I'm really intrigued to hear what you have to say about Jalen Brunson. If you think that the Knicks should go after a player of his magnitude, definitely a great guy, great player, connections to the Knicks. It makes a lot of sense. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire, so that's something to keep in mind. I like him. I think I wouldn't be mad at all if they acquired him, but it really depends what Dallas wants in this prospective deal. And, if he's worth $80 million over 4 years, that might be a bit too much for me based on his production up to this point in his career. Obviously, he's been more of a backup, but clearly he's capable of being a starter if you give him more opportunity, give him more of an impact, and make him your number one scoring option as a point guard. He could do a lot. Obviously, Luka Doncic is the one taking the majority of shots in Dallas. So I think that when you're talking about Brunson, he's kind of playing second fiddle. You made him the front guy, the lead point guard. You might get a lot of value out of him. So I'm intrigued to see what the Knicks could do with him if they did acquire him. But I'd love to hear your thoughts below on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. As always, my friends, it was a pleasure. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Knicks episode.